Collective. Hello, hello, my loves. Welcome to Vivid Vibration. My name is Christina. I hope that y'all are doing well. Y'all, I was like, I'm not even posting the video that I did because it was not a video that I was like, I don't even want to post this. This is so gnarly. I don't even want it to exist. So we're starting over. Transform your thoughts, which is a very beautiful card, and I like. Okay. Your thoughts have power. They can carry you to all sorts of places, ones you adore and ones you despise. This moment is asking you to revise your situation by renewing your thoughts about it. Your current reality was shaped by your thoughts, whether conscious or unconscious. The good news, since reality is influenced by thought, a thought can change in a snap. So can your reality. Seek to become conscious of the thoughts you want to keep alive and the ones that need to be transformed. When you nourish thoughts of loving self care and practice allowing what is rather than resisting it, your heart can take flight and your reality is sure to follow. Yeah, change your thoughts, change your surroundings, change the people you're engaged with because different people will lead you down different trains of thought. Different people will influence your energy differently. Um, and I just feel like this, well, I mean, I guess in the simplest way, like a call to transformation. But I think that, the transformation is in, well, I think for some of us, like if we've been in a victim's mentality of, well, oh, I deserve that, or oh, like this happened because of this, and like, well, I shouldn't be so upset about that, or I shouldn't, like ask for basic respect, or you know what I mean, and just like constantly putting ourselves beneath people. I think that like that transformation of thoughts has really taken hold in terms of like, no, I will no longer allow myself to be so easily disrespected, so casually disregarded, and so thoughtlessly held or like cared for. Like there's a sense of, like, well, yeah, I mean, I feel like instead of allowing ourselves to just be mishandled, yeah, yeah, that is a little vindictive, but you mishandle me, then you'll understand what it is to be mishandled, right? I mean, it's just kind of this idea of like, instead of being like, oh, why can't anybody just be good to me? Why can't anybody just treat me well? Why can't anybody just da 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 da? And no, it's not popular. That's not popular. That's not the female way. That's not, but like until like the masculine energy is a healthy form of masculinity, the female energy is going to exist in the masculine energy. Like, and that's gender neutral, like obviously we all embody both masculine and feminine energy. But I feel like there's like just collectively this transforming of thoughts. I mean, even in terms of like social media, right? Like they want to say they're not committing a mass genocide, and yet, we can open our phones and scroll through, children and elderly people starving to death, bombed, entire cities and nations up in smoke. But there's not a mass genocide going on. Like we can be told that like people care about our well-being, but they'll drop $3 billion to paint something because they want it to be what they want the wall to be black to make it harder for people to climb, but we can't feed our kids school lunches. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like there's such a disconnect, that I feel like as we transform our thoughts, I think our thoughts are transforming from ones of powerlessness to ones of power. I think that it is a transition that is upon us. I think there are some who already embody that. I think that there are others who are stepping into that, and the rest of them are just falling off. The Chariot. Ooh, never seen that card before. That's pretty. The Knight of Swords. Dig. The Hermit. The Two of Swords. The Lovers. And the Chariot. Okay, let's read what the book says about these cards because we haven't gotten all of these. Let's start with a minor. So the Two of Swords. There are times when we need to look inward, to exclude everything outside of us and then bring our gaze back outward. The Two of Swords chronicles the need for this focus. In a totally connected world, it is difficult to carve out a space just for your own thoughts where you can focus on who you are and what you really want, without outside influence tied to the advice or opinions of others. Where do your personal boundaries reside, and how can you apply them in this situation? Conversely, the card may also signal an excessive self-closure. Perhaps there is something you refuse to see but now need to address. If the card makes you uncomfortable, perhaps the time has come to lower your swords. Knight of Swords. We got swords. The Knight of Swords knows exactly what she wants, and she channels all her energy into getting it. Her only problem is that this focus on the goal causes her to lose sight of the big picture, making her unaware that her actions may be trampling on someone else. She is an impetuous knight like the Knight of Wands, but her energy is more mental. Her ideas are untamed, and she could fight to the death for what she believes in. She holds the power of the ideas that ignited us during our adolescence, when everything was either black or white. She needs to learn to see nuances, but she also has a lot to teach about determination. Well, I just feel like this goal well, yeah, because I mean, so in terms of what we were saying about, like taking your power back, um, transforming your thoughts from like the victim mentality or the, like how can I fix me, to make it easier for people to be disrespectful to me. Like the fuck? No. You know what I mean? Um, and anybody who would ask you to do that, like, you know? But like you have to go within and you have to acknowledge where does that occurrence occur? Like where, because part of controlling our thoughts is controlling our environment, right? Like if I know that I can be around one person and never have a violent thought ever, and I can laugh and I can cry and I can experience joy and I can have honest, open conversations that I don't feel like are going to be like tit for tatted with stupidity. I just like, then it's a mindful thing to surround myself with those people rather than people who I know are going to agitate and yeah, put you in a position. Yeah, yeah, because know that the company you keep keeps you, and if that's the like visceral reaction that you have around those people, it's best to just not with those people. The Hermit card is about solitude becoming a gift. Solitary moments can be a valuable resource. Solitude is not something to run away from. It's a place to take refuge in order to listen to our inner self and to investigate the mystery and bring light where there is still darkness. The Hermit carries a light, often a lantern, that illuminates the path step by step. This is because the path of inner discovery is something to be developed slowly. As we carefully observe the direction we are going, it is the card of those who are reserved or introverted. In a society where extroversion seems to be the key to success, the Hermit values the reverse movement, listening, decompressing, and making space. The flower is the snowdrop, a winter flower, one of the first to bloom despite the fact that the season is still cold. It is a solitary bloom, and its bearing resembles that of the hermit's white lantern shining the rays of the winter sun. Well, yeah, because, like, part of transforming your thoughts is controlling like the environments that you put yourself in. Those Snapped shows. Yeah, I mean, I don't watch those shows. I can't stand those shows. I don't like serial killer shows. I think it's gross the way that people obsess over those things. I think it's sick. So I don't really watch those shows. But, you know, I think of the movie, or not the movie, the song, The Dixie Chicks, Earl Had to Die, you know? And I feel like there's this sense of, like, what's dying in your life? What do you need to let die? Not a literal death, but, like, if you feel like you have to be on the defensive, if you feel like, like you have to stampede in order to get into where it is that you're going, then the people who are surrounding you on your way there aren't capable of holding space for that, right? I mean, like, yeah, the word weak has definitely been very present. And there's a weakness, but I think that oftentimes people think of weakness as like a physical weakness, whereas, like, when I think of weakness, I think of, like, emotional, intellectual weakness, spiritual weakness. The spiritually weak, the emotionally weak can't lead with an emotional strength. The spiritually weak can't lead with a spiritual strength. And it's when weakness exhibits itself in one area that power exerts itself in another, and it kind of becomes this very, like, unhealthy situation. Unequally yoked business partners, unequally yoked friends, unequally yoked relationships. Like, what makes them unequally yoked to us? How does that affect our ability to move through life in a state of progress rather than digressing? Like, how do we elevate our thoughts while we elevate our community? We surround ourselves with people who can meet us where we're at, so we're not angry at them for being incapable of offering us what we deserve. Well, yeah, and I'm a Scorpio Mars, so if you're going to offer me something that I don't deserve, I'm going to give you something that you don't deserve right back. You're going to know what that tastes like. You're going to know how you make me feel. And that's me. That's not everybody. And, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just acknowledging it for what it is, but, like, at least I'm honest about it. The Chariot is ambition, the ability to aim for a goal and the energy and focus needed to reach it. The momentum of this card is direct, disciplined, and unstoppable. Also shown in the card is the integration of opposites, as signaled by the two birds, one white and one black. To get to the goal, one must harmonize one's drives and desires, making sure that the driving energy is balanced. In other words, to drive a chariot, one must know how to control it. If you've encountered this card, take stock of your abilities and how, altogether, they can help you achieve what you desire. The plant is the dandelion with its arrow-shaped leaves and sun-colored bloom, open and available, with its seeds ready to fly far from the starting point. The chariot says to explore new paths without fear, to imagine the future and try to reach it exactly as we dreamed it. Well, because I think that part of this energy is this idea of like, if I have to constantly like fight for a goal, then I'm not just like naturally reaching goals because everything's out of a balance. There's no balance here. There's no security. And if I have to make decisions on my security, whether that's an emotional security, a spiritual security, a financial security, like what, however those securities, whatever the like that means to you, if you feel like you are fighting for a sense of security, especially if it's like you just out the gates and you're already like, I can tell you every reason why, like this is a disaster waiting to happen. Um, don't focus on those people. Don't focus on those things. Transform your thoughts by transforming your environment. Allow the environments that are meant for you to open up to you, so that you don't feel I feel like a channeling of your energy, right? Like there needs to be a channeling of your energy, and if your energy is in one direction, it's not going to be in the other direction. You have to transform your thoughts. You have to transform your energy. You have to be mindful of who you surround yourself with, um, and only. I just feel like only the strong of spirit, only the strong of heart, only the strong of mind, only leaders can lead. Only strength can carry. Don't expect weakness. Don't expect greatness from weakness, and you won't be disappointed. You won't be angry, right? I mean, it does. It always goes back to like who's on your team and why. Um, because you're only as strong as your weakest link. And if you are linked to people who are weak spiritually, who are weak emotionally, who are weak minded, um, you're going to be upset. You're going to be irritated. You're going to be agitated. So just don't, right? Um, okay, the Lovers. I don't think we've gotten the Lovers in this deck before. The Lovers card is about choice. When we decide to enter into a relationship with another person, we must choose what is important to us and where we can find common ground. Here we are talking about love seen as the capacity to broaden one's life, to welcome, to take responsibility for love. The card shows an encounter between two different beings taking place. We don't really know who is in front of us until we know him or her well, and sometimes that is not enough. You must try to reconcile the differences and become something more meaningful than the sum of two separate souls. The card features two figures, and between them stands a tree. As above, a third presence watches, which could be the relationship itself, alive and fertile. The plant is the peony, a symbol of union, love, and the balance between male and female polarities. The peony, with its beautiful flowers, reminds us of the transience of beauty. At the same time, it is a plant resistant to even the harshest winters, as are relationships when they are healthy. Yeah, I mean, it does. It just feels like, is this a healthy relationship? No, get rid of it. Is it a healthy relationship? How do you know if it's a healthy relationship? Because there are boundaries, there's respect, there are like considerations. I mean, the world is full of people who are just inconsiderate, and will just not even think before they speak. And I know that I'm not alone in the world where I just feel like one more motherfucker thoughtlessly say something to me. Those aren't your people, right? Don't surround yourself with those people. You won't surround yourself in that energy. You don't surround yourself in that energy. You can start to transform your thoughts. You can start to transform your visions. You can start to transform your environments. You can start to commune with people, because you don't need to be like, it isn't necessary, I think, for all of us to be exactly alike. I mean, some of my friends, like some of my closest friends, are so very different from me in so many ways. But we work really well together. We balance each other out. We hold it down for one another. But I don't need to explain to them how to love me because they're different from me. They love me naturally. And even if we have a fight, we move through it with ease and grace because it's not an argument of, like I keep saying the same thing over and over again. It's a conversation and it's an issue that's dealt with, done, and moved on because there are better things to focus on, right? There are better things to do. And I feel like there's been a lot of relationships that we've had where we've thought, I've got so much better. There are like so many things better to do with my time than sit here and argue with someone about an inability to just practice basic respect. In the fact that I would even have to explain what basic respect is, is infuriating to me. So just like stay away from those people, right? Yeah, sometimes it is easier said than done, because like we don't always control the people that we work with, or you go out and there's a group of people out and then other people are there and you don't really, you know what I mean, like you don't always have control over the situation or the environment. I don't think that's the point. Obviously, if ever you find yourself in a situation that you just like you can't continue in, then leave that situation. Find another job, find another group of people. Like move. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Like if you feel like you can't go out, but I mean, also, I mean, I always support it. But I have a lot of friends in my life who like that they move countries like I move homes. They enjoy the experience of it, and so like they probably would match really well with people who also enjoy like moving, because they like exploring and they value that over like hanging out with the same group of people every week. Where are your values? Because that's like those are the people that you need to align yourself with. And if they don't value what you value, I think that it can become very explosive, and you don't need to be surrounding yourself in those environments or with those people. And I don't know, because I just feel like there are like all of these justifications. Well, you know, Billy Bob is friends with my brother, and like they're always around and da 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 da, and it's like, well, I like Billy Bob's friends probably encourage him to behave in that way. So do you really want to be around any of those people? Probably not. You can't escape it. Find a way. I don't know, if where there's a will, there's a way. And I just feel like if you feel like you're constantly having to overcome triggers, if you're constantly having to wrestle demons, if you're constantly having to transform your thoughts, then you're not around the right people. Make your decisions accordingly. Be smart with the decisions you make. You can't get mad at other people for supporting or not supporting those decisions. If they want to stay friends with Billy Bob, then let them be friends with Billy Bob. You're going to go be friends with people who are actually worthy of your friendship, right? Um, I don't know. I don't know where that came from. But I do feel like there is this sense of really pulling away from people who don't align with you, cutting people out who leave you feeling triggered or agitated, disrespected, um, dismissed. Like, I just feel like this sick and tired of being sick and tired. Sick and tired of being around people who, like say one thing, but like everything that you do, demonstrates something different. You know what I mean? Like people whose actions don't match their words. I hate pretty words if there are not sincere actions to back them up. You know what I mean? Because authenticity is everything to me. And do you know how many people in the world spew pretty things and can't back it up to save their lives? You know what I mean? And it's just like those people are weak. Those people are not people that you want in your life, not people that you want on your team, not people that you would invite to engage in conversations with you, because everything that they say is going to be in conflict with you, because all they want to do is drag you down to their level. Um, I don't know. I don't know if you're already in this energy. I don't know if you're moving out of this energy. I don't know if you're moving through this energy. I don't know where it you are with it. Um, and I do know that some of us have just felt really just like at our wits' end with a lot of things and ready to just like wield the sword and cut the cords and be done. Um, but I encourage that, because people who like to blur the lines are never going to respect your boundaries. And instead of telling your daughter to put on pants because Uncle Randy's coming over, don't invite Uncle Randy over. Practice basic decency. I don't know, I do feel like somebody is getting put in a situation that they don't want to be put in. That feels like betrayal, but the kind of betrayal that people excuse because, well, they're family. Well, they're this person in the community. Well, they're the preacher at the church, and yeah, we know that they make the girls uncomfortable, but he's our minister, so we have to invite him to lunch every Sunday dinner. Like that kind of energy. Um, and you wonder why the world gets away with like the revolting things that it gets away with. Um, but sometimes that requires decision making that people don't like. Sometimes that requires cutting ties. Um, yeah, and I feel like a call to cut ties. I think for some people that's more difficult than it is for others. Um, but I don't know. I just feel like it's somehow something feels like a necessary evil. And the necessary evil is to get rid of the evil that everybody felt necessary to keep around. However that plays out for y'all as individuals, guys. I don't know. But if somebody's dealing with somebody who's experienced SA, and it has either not been discussed or not been acknowledged or swept under the rug, and that person reacts violently at the idea of having to be in the same room as somebody who sexually assaulted them, and everybody's response is just dress modestly and don't engage in a conversation and you'll be safe, we're all around you. Do you know how sick those people are for dragging that person through that emotional torment? I don't know, that feels heavy, but I don't know what all any individual is dealing with. Um, or yeah, like because that feels very prominent to me, but I just feel like if you've experienced that level of assault, and then what, like your friends are throwing a party and they're like, well, we know that he slipped a roofie in your drink and assaulted you, but we're keeping an eye on him, and like we're making sure that your drink's safe. And it's like, is that supposed to be a consolation to that person? Like dear person, if somebody ever puts you in that situation and they want to justify you being around someone who has assaulted you in some way, shape, or form, cut every single one of those people out of your life because they are all sick. Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like this has definitely taken like a turn that feels very, very dark, but somebody needs to hear that. So, um, obviously, I will always stand on the side of the assaulted ones, um, over the assaulters and their enablers. Um, I, and maybe that's that idea of like, you have a goal, you have something, but like people are getting cut out left and right, and it's like, if you're trying to rid the world of people who assault, then you're not going to keep their friends around to justify the next round of assault that happens, because obviously they'd rather sweep it under the rug than deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, get rid of them all. But that feels like an energy that, again, transform your thoughts. Because if you're surrounded with people who want to put you in situations that give you anxiety, then you need to get rid of those people. You need to change your community. You need to be mindful of who you surround yourself with, because like our thoughts aren't simply, like, people like to think, that like our thoughts are only, like come from self. But oftentimes our thoughts come from the environments that we're around, the situations that we're put in, the conversations that we're forced to be a part of. Um, like those are the types of things that fuck with your nervous system. Those are the types of people who are okay with making you uncomfortable. And if people are okay with making you uncomfortable, then they either need to be okay with the reaction that you have, um, or they need to fuck off entirely. We have the Empress, the Strength, the Seven of Pentacles, and the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords is the idea of hearing the call. And I do feel like there is this sense of um, well, I feel like a call to justice, honestly. Um, and I don't know why, like, the only thing that is coming through right now is this idea of like a family member who assaulted, like one of the girls in the family, and rather than not invite him to like family dinners, they, like they tell the girl, or to change herself, to accept things, to not make such a big deal of it. And I just feel like this, like, no, if there's a call to justice, like we're going to drag that man through the streets, you know, um, and the ones who turned their eyes, the ones who kept their mouths shut, the ones who ensured that that person was never brought to justice will experience. Well, because I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you just think about like, if somebody has been assaulted by somebody in their family and their family always tells them that it's not that big. I remember there was this one time we lived in these townhouses. My son has always just been like the sweetest, my oldest son, friends with everybody, always super sweet. Well, there was a girl in the neighborhood who was very clearly not right, and we thought that she was, like maybe mentally ill. Come to find out, she was just severely abused. Abused by her father, abused by her uncle, abused by her brother, passed around by the men in her family. And the mom, because this girl started trying to elicit sexual favors from the children in the neighborhood, um, we took it to the mother, because like community of moms rallying together to protect their children, obviously. And this mom, like in front of all of us, to like put on a show of how appalled she was with her daughter, tells her that she, like, just wait until her brother gets his hands on her, and all she does is think with her, like her, this girl had been so abused and beaten and assaulted on so many levels from various men in her family, that this girl did not have a concept of anything outside of that. Um, it was such a depressing thing to witness, but it was something that was right there in our community, right there in the best town in Ohio, ranked 3 years running by the state of Ohio. You know what I mean? Like it's everywhere. There's nowhere that you can't go in any community where you don't witness something of that level of behavior. And the communities that turn a blind eye, that keep their mouths shut. Well, we were going to go to child services. We did go to child services. And basically what child services said is that because of the age that she was at, she would end up being discarded by the system, probably out on the streets, and that ultimately she was safer where she was, which is equally as horrifying as the rest of it. But I don't know how many of you have ever tried to work with the judicial system, or the law enforcement, or any of those things, but I think that 97.9% of the people who have to deal with those systems will share with you stories of never really experiencing any help, never experiencing, like something positive from it. Most of the people who are homeless are people who came from foster care, and they aged out. They had no support. They had no real education. They had no real opportunity to establish themselves in a way that was going to situate them to be anything more than like what their lives amounted to. And now we've got cops out rounding them up, throwing them in prisons. That, like, the system is set up to fail the people. And it's the people who say, oh, well, you should just trust the system, and you should just, like that just happens sometimes. And when we've got it under control and everything's really fine, just sweep it under the rug. Just sweep it under the rug. those people are willfully ignorant. And I feel like there is a call to rip away the security blanket of willful ignorance, um, and the demons that they hide beneath them, the cloaks of their willful ignorance. It's a cry for justice. But I feel like I don't know who this is read for, because it feels very specific and very like focused in this arena that is very uncomfortable, but something that absolutely deserves to be acknowledged and discussed. Um, but for those who have overcome instances like that, like for the women who are never believed, for the children who are ignored, like who rose up, who overcame. Um, I just feel like that, all of those times that you felt your nervous system turning, all of the I feel like that, like those are the people who are rising up to bring justice where justice is due, because they are the ones who experienced the injustice. And if they are the ones who've experienced the injustice, it is no one's job to do anything outside of support them and creating the justice that is deserved, not only to the people who assaulted them, but also to the people who enabled it to, continue. Because I just feel like there is this sense of, like the redemption of Uncle whoever, like he behaves himself for a minute and then does it again. Only this time it's more threatening. Only this time there's now more at stake. Because those people don't change. They just become more aggressive and more threatening. Yeah, because I just feel like saying, we believe you. We believe you when you say something is not right. We believe you when your energy shifts because you're uncomfortable. We believe you, and we stand behind you and we support you in overcoming whatever it is that you're overcoming. You don't have to keep repeating yourself. You don't have to cry, why can no one hear me? Why does no one believe me? Why do I have to say the same thing over and over again only to experience disregard, disbelief, and being dismissed? We're not here to dismiss you. We are here to empower you and hold space for all that, the due justice. Because the justice isn't just for the people who experienced it, it's for the people that they're protecting from having to experience it again and again and again, because it's a cycle that plays itself out over and over and over again. We are ready for the cycles to end. We are ready for the cycles to break. We are ready to have our voices heard the first time around. And I think if there are people who feel like they're unfairly being dealt with because they're not the ones who did it to you, but they're the ones who wanted you to just dress differently and stand in the room and just avoid them, just don't go in the living room. Just stay here in the kitchen. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I like, if that's the situation that you're in, I would highly encourage you to pack your bags and move. Figure it out. There's this one girl I was friends with, and she was sharing with me a story about growing up, and one of her friends was killed in a shootout, like a street gunfight. And when she found out who did it, she said she went and she grabbed a revolver and she went up to that person's house and she shot like 3 holes through the door and tried to kill this person who had killed her friend. And then her cousins showed up and they, like wrangled the gun from her and all of this other stuff. But the first time that she had ever run away from home was when she was 8 years old. And I remember having so much respect for her because she had been assaulted and she knew her mom wasn't going to do anything about it. So she packed up her bag and she went and she stayed at a friend's house, and then she moved around and she ensured her own safety. And if an 8-year-old can do it, we can do it too. you know? Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this is, well, the last read was very, very, very aggressive, right? And yeah, I think that, am I pro-violence? I'm not always pro-violence. I don't think that I'm always pro-violence. But yeah, I mean, if somebody hurt your kid, um, like the natural reaction would be to want to go like hurt that person. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I mean, if you're in a relationship with somebody and they push you like in ways where you feel like I physically want to make you feel the way that you emotionally make me feel repeatedly, you don't need to be with that person. Yeah, you just like stay away from those people. Strength again. Nine of Pentacles, Knave of Pentacles, Three of Wands. Well, the Three of Wands is the idea of departure. Maybe you're leaving. Maybe you're leaving something behind that is taking a lot of strength. And I don't know, it doesn't have to be as extreme as the examples that are coming through, but they're there, y'all, and they're uncomfortable. But just because things are uncomfortable doesn't mean that we should avoid them. You know, it's not the point. I think that's the problem most of the time. And whatever it is that you're doing, I feel like there is just this call to really like think about it differently. And that was in a read recently too, where it's like if you have to just get up and leave when somebody's at work because you know that's when you're safest to do it, do it. Um, and stop buying into the idea that just because other people are comfortable with you being uncomfortable, that that's okay, that that's acceptable. The fact that people who didn't endure the abuse that you endured want to tell you that you should just let it go, because they didn't have to endure it. Those people, they have no right to speak. And they certainly don't have a right to hold space in your thoughts concerning whether or not what you're doing is right or wrong. Because the only time people put you in uncomfortable situations is because they feel like they have something to gain from it. And if they're okay with making you uncomfortable because they have something to gain from it, those people are not good for you. Stay away from those people. And speak over yourself the beauty that will be, the beauty that is coming, the beauty that you're calling in, the abundance that you will experience because you didn't lose sight of your own safety, of your own security, of your own right to be loved and respected and treated well. And if there are people who are disrespectful, who want to put you in rooms and in situations and tell you that you should just be comfortable with it because it's your family, because it's what? Because it's like you have to go through, the judicial system, like the judicial system that doesn't even, that thinks that it has the right to control women's bodies, that doesn't, hold men accountable for things, but, can throw a woman in prison for 100 years because she didn't want to carry a baby to term. A baby that they would then throw into the system to ultimately experience the horrors that are present in the world. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of the idea of turning your back. There's been a lot of the idea of trusting that there are people in the world who offer refuge. There are people in the world who look at that type of community or that type of family or that type of whatever and are sick to their stomachs on your behalf. Yeah, I just feel like there's so much more for you. You just need to find the strength to go. You just need to find the strength to leave. And if this read isn't for you, please do honor the fact that not everyone has the privilege to not have these conversations, and hold space for that. Because if somebody needs to hear it, then it needs to be said. King of Hearts, Jack of Hearts, and King of Spades. Hand in hand indicates confiding disposition. When in close proximity, blah, 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 friendship will warm into love. When near, blah, 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 favor will be found with superiors or financial success. The book presages the discovery of a mystery affecting the person for the better in a degree governed by distance. Yeah, I don't know, you guys, but I do. I just feel like this leave it behind, leave this community behind, leave these people behind. There's so much power in sharing your story and taking your voice back and not allowing yourself to be placated by people who have no concept of what it is to have experienced the abuse, degradation, disrespect, disregard, so on and so forth that you have experienced. And at no point in time should you allow anyone the opportunity to put you in a position where they feel comfortable doing that, or putting you around people who feel comfortable doing that. The bride ensures for a single person the fulfillment of their highest aims when near, if distant, turbulent married life. Well, I think I almost feel like it's like the opposite of that. Like, get away from whatever it is. I mean, if you're in a relationship and somebody, like your family is pressuring you to marry somebody, and you don't want to marry that person because you know that that is your life, that is your everyday, that is your emotional support, that is your spiritual leader, and they're like, you need to do this, and you look at that person and you're like, that person horrifies me and disgusts me. Their character is disgusting. Their level of ignorance is beyond, you know what I mean? Like, and everybody's like, you have to do this because the family needs to be connected to that family, because like, your happiness doesn't matter. It's about connection. It's about affiliation. And it, like, I don't know. There are lots of different ways that this can play out, especially for women. And I'm sure that there are men who have experienced this as well, but I feel like there is a feminine energy here with me who just really needs to hear that it's okay to leave. That all of the times you were asked to be put in situations, to be in rooms with people, to be like, forced into situations that you weren't comfortable being forced into, those people are not okay. That's not okay. Their character is not worthy of your presence. um, it's okay to leave. It's okay to try and be better on your own. And it might take you a while, especially if you've been in an environment where you are cared for, you know. Um, Somebody who pays for everything. Like, well, since they pay for everything, they have the right to cheat on me, or they have the right to, like, to do whatever they want to me. And it's like, no, you're not a piece of property. And that's not true. They don't have the right to do anything to you. Um, and if you have people around those people who want to dismiss it, want to, like, minimize it, want to um, reinsert you into things that you do not want to be a part of, like, leave those people too. You are not a coward. You are not a quitter. You are smart. And if an 8-year-old can protect herself, like, you can protect yourself. If an 8-year-old can find a way, you can find a way. If I can panhandle my way across the country and live in my car, you can do the same thing too. You know what I mean? There is always a way out. Um, yeah, and if it's something that's not that big of a deal, and it's like, what, you don't like the people you work with, find another job. How many jobs there are that are available? You know what I mean? You could pretty much get a job damn near anywhere, you know? Um, and yeah, I say that as somebody who, like, I had a really hard time getting a job in the town that I was in, the community that I was in. And a lot of that just has to do with, um, if you're overqualified for a job, people don't want to hire you, because they know you won't stay. And so sometimes that does make things more difficult, which is why I think that leaving those areas, moving to a different part of the country, where you're not that person, like, it opens more doors for you. So, like, also keep that in mind. Sometimes a fresh start, a new beginning, new faces, new communities is the kindest thing that you can do to yourself. Because it's the only way to gain peace. It's the only way to quiet the voices. It's the only way to transform your thoughts. And ultimately, like, that's what I feel like is, like, being asked of you. I just think that people want to say, oh, I just changed my thought process. And it's like, no, that's not, transforming your thoughts is a process, is a practice. isn't something that people can just like, oh, magically, like if I feel fear every time I'm in the presence of a family member, like if I sense that kind of energy off of anybody, that's going to spark fear in me. If I've experienced abuse of any form, and I find myself interacting with that, there's a knee-jerk reaction. It's not just so simple as just change your mind, just change your thought process, right? We have to restructure our nervous system, especially if you've undergone a lot of abuse. And once you have escaped those environments, once you have cleared your energetic field of those people, then you will be able to start engaging in healthy relationships. Then you will be able to start engaging in, like healthy environments. Then you will start to be able to trust. Then you will start to be able to not feel so much fear. Then you will be able to have a little bit more fun. I almost feel like this, like somebody who forgot how to laugh, somebody who hasn't had the opportunity to laugh in a while. And I feel like you're going to laugh again. You're going to experience joy again. You are not beaten down. You are not defeated. And they may have won a battle, but mama, you going to win the war. Just don't give up, right? Don't quit trying. Trust that everything happens with reason. Trust the process. Know that you will fall. Know that your nervous system will falter. Know that things won't always work in your favor. But that's not the point. The point is liberation. Liberation that allows for joy. Indulge the whimsy. I love that. I don't know, you guys. I mean, this was heavy for sure, but play is at the heart of every creative endeavor. Play creates meaning, increases resilience, and promotes health. The secret to living an enchanted life is to remember playfulness. It lives in you as a magnetic force, deeply influencing every creative thought, relationship, project, or endeavor. If you want to breathe new life into the adult world of responsibilities and requirements, engage or play. Climb a tree, listen to a fountain, sing with the birds, allow yourself to spontaneously skip down the grocery aisle or stand outside in a rainstorm. Follow the fireflies, then go one step further and put play on the schedule. Prioritize it. Court the wonders of the natural world. Now is the time to discover that you are one of those wonders. Yeah, re-engage with your joy. Find your joy. Whether that's, whatever brings you joy. Art, music, dance, kickboxing, exercise of any form, like building, jewelry making. I mean, throwing an axe, like hunting, going to the shooting range. I don't know. Whatever brings you joy, whatever makes you feel like somehow there's a pressure that's being relieved. Relieve the pressure. Find a reason to laugh. Find a reason to play. Find a reason to be happy, and you'll find that your thoughts begin to transform themselves. Because instead of being focused on these things or these people or these mentalities, these communities, this whatever, you're focused on living your life. You're focused on your present moment, and your present moment allows for you to breathe. And you should be able to breathe. Well, y'all, this was a long read, and a very heavy read, and I hope that whoever this is for, it finds you. But blessings and gratitude to you on your journey. It's a journey, but it's one that you can overcome. Um, Take care. Be safe. You've got this.